year's conference is brilliant, amazing, and mystifying. Hey, he managed to cough up the thing. He's making his 9th appearance here at the Magic and Meaning Conference. Over that time, he has become our official closing speaker, mostly because no one wants to follow him. This year marks a departure for him. Instead of debuting an original, never-before-seen talk, he will be reprising a presentation he made at this year's Magic Live. But fear not. He's promised us special bonus material, so there might be outtakes as well as a gag reel. Unfortunately, we didn't spring for the Blu-ray, so he will not be appearing this afternoon in high definition. So please join me in welcoming to our stage for one of his irreverent yet insightful talks, the Prince of PowerPoint himself, Master Payne!
Yay!
Before I begin, I would like to express my disappointment. The Nielsen auction was held on my birthday, yet no posters arrived. I'm sure it's the fault of the post office. Let us begin. Earlier this year, I was invited to participate in Mystery School Week at the world-famous Magic Castle. So, for 7 days in January, I performed 3 shows a night in the prestigious Parlor of Prestidigitation. One at 10:15, another at 11:30, and the last at 12:30. Yes, in the morning. It nearly killed me. But as they say, I would have died a happy man, because not only did it allow me to strike yet another item off of my bucket list, it also fulfilled a lifelong dream. Well, that's not precisely true. I haven't dreamed of performing at the castle for my entire life, mostly because I've been around longer than it has. I'm actually old enough to have attended its gala opening back in 1963. True, I would have only been 4.5 years old. But even back then, I was a snappy enough dresser to have met the dress code. If one really thinks about it, the only way anyone could possibly have the dream of performing at the castle for their entire life would be if they were born in a hospital holding a magic set in one hand with a window overlooking the place, which has never, ever happened, regardless of what Jeff McBride might try. No, for me, I've only seriously dreamed of performing there since I won the coveted gold medal at the PCAM Pro Challenge back in 2005. So it only took me 11 years to get there. 11 soul-crushing, rejection-filled years. But thanks to a bit of perseverance and the help and assistance of the fine folk at Mystery School, I finally made it in.
Yeah.
So was it worth it, you ask? You bet. Hands down, it is the best venue for performing and watching magic being performed that I've ever had the pleasure to perform in. I had a great time, and I left there with many wonderful memories that I will cherish for the rest of my life. Of course, I would have left with many more memories, but they have a rather draconian no photography rule in the place. So, what was my favorite memory? Well, that took place about halfway through my run when one of the castle regulars came up to me to tell me of a phone conversation that he had had with a fellow member, which went something like this. Have you seen Late Parlor yet with Master Payne? Ooh, you've got to go. You really do. I don't know if I liked it. There, I don't know liked it. A little lag at the time on the phone. Now, I know that some will find it odd that I've chosen this less than stellar review as my favorite memory. But it really is, because the fellow didn't say he didn't like my performance. He said he didn't know if he liked it, which means he had to think about it. No doubt because he'd never seen a performance quite like mine before. Which I find sad, because after all, this is the Magic Castle we're talking about here. That exclusive clubhouse nestled in the foothills of North Hollywood, where the hoi polloi gather to watch cutting-edge magic being performed by world-class entertainers. At least that's what I had been led to believe by all those articles I'd read in Genie magazine and episodes of the Magician TV series. So when I visited the place in 1989, I had somewhat unrealistic expectations. Because back then, the magazine and the TV show was my only contact with the magic community, because I really didn't have very many magician friends. I didn't belong to a magic club. I'd never gone to a convention, and well, truth be told, most of the magic I'd seen up until that point in time had been on television, and since that was a little portable number, all of that had been in black and white. So even though I had really nothing to compare it to, I left the castle on that first visit back in the late 80s feeling, well, a little disappointed. It just seemed to me that magic could be, well, more diverse than this. It would be nearly 20 years before I would return to the castle. By then, I had joined a magic club. I had many magician friends. I'd gone to several conventions and seen lots of magic performed live, though oddly some of it was still in black and white. Needless to say, I had a much better time on that second visit. It's not that the magic had improved any, it's just my expectations were lower. And that's the subject for today's talk, expectations. So you might be assuming that I have one of my traditionally clever and pithy titles involving wordplay, such as meeting expectations or greater expectations, or perhaps even tales of the expectations. But no, the title of my Jeff McBride 2016 Magic and Meeting Pep Talk is Not Everyone Likes Elvis. Not quite what you were expecting? It's kind of the point. It's realistic for you, don't worry. The next slide explains it all. However, before I reveal it, I must warn you that many here might find the image to be somewhat disturbing. I know I certainly find it so. Not everyone likes Elvis were the sage words of advice given to me none other by Eugene Berger one night at the Magic Castle. Get it out of your system. Actually, I should say one of the 5 bars at the Magic Castle. Of course, truer words were never spoken. I know I've really never cared much for Elvis Presley, especially after he released the dismal "It Happened at the Magic Castle," worst handling of Skinner's ball face ever. But some people seem to like him, which is fine, because if you don't, you can always change the station. Something, unfortunately, that isn't quite as easy to do in the world of magic, because unlike music, most people don't encounter a lot of magic. So, to their untrained eye, there's a certain generic quality to the practitioners of our craft. This goes far in forming their expectations towards magic. A Google image search on the word magician reveals what that expectation looks like, and also shows that there are many magicians all too willing to meet it. Now, some people think that this is an unfair assumption on my part, and that I have allowed a Google bot to paint us all with far too broad a brush. Perhaps I have, but consider this. At a social function, if a musician were to bring out their instrument, they might be requested to play any variety of different sorts of tunes. However, if a magician were to bring out their instrument, they probably will hear because we all know there's only one card trick in the entire world. And to be fair, from our spectators' point of view, it does seem as if this is the case, because 9 times out of 10, we have them select a card, only to once again find it. If only I had done much more extensive market research before beginning my career in magic, I could have saved a great deal of time and money by not having to read all those books on card magic. So it seems that we are somewhat to blame for our own predicament, because many of us got involved in magic because of a magician we encountered in our youth. Intrigued and inspired, but having little else to go on, we patterned our prepubescent performing persona after the practices of this prescient prestidigitator. And so, as we begin our journey into the world of magic, we have inadvertently chosen the road more traveled. This leads us to clubs, conventions, and all sorts of magic shows which only validate and reinforce these early expectations of what we think magic should look like. And so we grow up to become a reflection of the magician we first encountered, who in turn was a reflection of the magician he first saw, who was a reflection, and so on and so forth, all the way back in time to whoever magician zero must have been. Yes, I know this is an oversimplification of a very complex issue that is worthy of a doctoral dissertation of its very own, but to discuss it in the depth it deserves would throw us way off schedule, and I know that Jeff has got some pretty spectacular closing ceremonies planned for us tonight, so I don't want to get those interrupted, and we'll just keep moving on. Now, I will admit that things seem to be getting better with shows like The Illusionists and movies like the Now You See Me franchise doing much to update the public's perception of the modern day magician. But they have a lot to overcome. After all, it has been over 40 years since Doug Henning ripped us out of the 19th century empire we needlessly foisted upon ourselves. Yet even today, if you ask the general public to select which one of these 3 guys was the magician, they choose A, even though B and C are actually the magician, and A is Lord Grantham. Meeting expectations is holding us back, while the other art forms seem to be moving ever forward. Magic keeps looking backwards. And yes, while these retro posters really do look cool, I've fallen prey to using them myself. They do tend to send a message to our audiences that we think that magic's better days are behind us, and we are forever pining for a golden age when magic was seen as a much more artistic endeavor. Now, before I get too far down this path, let me first categorically state that yes, I do believe that magic, like any other form of self-expression, can achieve the status of art. And yes, I do believe that there are many magicians currently elevating it to such a degree. However, I also maintain that if you could convert magic shows into paintings, that an exhibition of said work would be seen by the general public as room after room of minor variations on the Mona Lisa. Or probably the Scream. Or maybe more accurately, dogs. Yes, magic has something of an image problem, being located on the entertainer's food chain somewhere between balloon twisters and bear baiters. This is what I'm sure motivated some very well-meaning people to petition Congress to have it proclaimed as an art. Unfortunately, I don't think you can make something an art by decree. The only thing I think this is going to accomplish is allowing those sort of people that go around telling everyone that they're now a real magician because they just got their membership card in whatever magic society and cashed their check, will now go around telling one and all that they're artists because Congress has decreed it so. No, if we want magic to be accepted as an art, we need to start treating it as one. How would we do this? Well, one way is forever remove from the lexicon of magic these two terms. Do we really think that scripts for plays and librettos for opera come emblazoned with the words easy to do and no skill required? I don't think so. So why does magic? How can we expect anyone to take something seriously that we ourselves fail to do? Also, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. If magic is an art, it is a performing art, and we call the performing arts theater. Now, don't get scared. This doesn't mean we have to go all highbrow and start performing obscure avant-garde style performance. Unless, of course, you're planning on doing that Salvador Dali tribute act. Nor does this mean that we should fall back on that old canard of fame through association and try to employ our newfound acting skills to try to convince people that Jackson Pollock's drip-style technique of painting was actually inspired by some old U.F. Grant. No. If we want people to start seeing magic as an art, we need them to see it the same way my mother sees me. I never met her expectations either. Because the entertainer gives their audience what they want to see, whereas the artist gives their audience what they didn't know they wanted to see. Subtle, but it's there. And I'm pretty sure my audiences last January at the castle didn't know they wanted to see a 20-minute long coin and bottle reading. Did everyone like it? Of course not. But that's the nature of art, and why magic will never be seen as one. Because art takes chances. It questions authority and challenges the status quo. Something that magic rarely, if ever, does. That's because deep down, we all want to be loved. And since many of us use magic as an emotional coping system, we're terrified that if we perform something that's too out there, our audiences won't like it. And by extension, they won't like us as well. And so we meet expectations and perform the magic we think our audiences want to see, and thus garner their respect, maybe. And and we go on pretending every day that everyone likes Elvis, and magic dies a little more each day. Now, for those of you who did catch my original presentation at Magic Live may have noticed that this previous section was not in my original talk. It wasn't for many reasons. First, it's a little depressing. 2, it put me over Stan's time limit. 3, it forced me to use bullet points. And fourth, try as I might, I couldn't find a segue back into the other talk. No, not that kind of segue. But then I remembered Jeff gave me his hypnosis DVD, and so I found the perfect segue. This never happened. Master Payne's presentation was the best of the conference. It's better than Cats. I will see it again and again. Oh, we got that. All right. So, did everyone like it? Of course not. But that's the nature of art and why this talk is called Not Everyone Likes Elvis. Because while he may not be your cup of tea, everyone can agree that he was an influential artist as well as being a cultural icon. So what does any of this have to do with magic? Well, Elvis didn't become Elvis by mindlessly mimicking DVDs or robotically replicating other performers. No, Elvis became Elvis by being Elvis. Wasn't the songs he sung. Other people had sung them before he did. It's not the genre he's chosen to sing them in. There's people singing them in that genre today who are never going to get as famous. No, it's how he interpreted the medium and used the music as a form of self-expression. And that is magic's biggest secret. The secret's so big that not even this guy can expose it. Because the art of magic isn't in the tricks. Because if you really want to know, magic isn't an art. It never was, it never will be. Magic is a medium. It's like pigment to a painter, it's like stone to a sculptor. You are not an artist because you do magic, you are an artist because of the magic you do. The art of it is in you. You can choose to color in between the lines or wherever else you want to, but you first have to start by stop meeting expectations. And this is something you can't buy in the dealer's room, you can't instant download it off the internet, and you can't have it proclaimed by Congress. I wish you could, because then I could tell everybody that this is art. It saved me about 20 minutes. But I know you were expecting something more. Thank you.
Wow.